The village of Black Hollow sat quietly at the edge of a dense, ancient forest. During the day, it looked harmless, just tall trees and winding paths. But at night, everything changed. For years, villagers whispered about a strange whistling sound that echoed through the forest after sunset. It was soft at first, almost like a distant tune carried by the wind. But those who followed it were never seen again. Ayan, a curious and fearless young man, had heard these stories since childhood. Unlike others, he didn't believe in monsters. "It's just the wind," he would say. But deep down, the mystery bothered him. One night, determined to prove everyone wrong, Ayan stepped into the forest just as the moon rose. The air felt colder with every step. Then he heard it. A whistle, low, slow, calling him. He paused, his heart pounding, but forced himself forward. The sound grew louder, clearer, almost like it was guiding him. The deeper he went, the darker the forest became, until even the moonlight disappeared. Suddenly, the whistling stopped. Silence. Ayan turned around, but the path behind him was gone. Then, right behind him, a sharp, chilling whistle. He froze. Slowly, he turned his head. Between the trees stood a tall, shadowy figure. Its face was hidden, but its mouth stretched unnaturally wide, whistling without stopping. Ayan tried to run, but his legs wouldn't move. The last thing heard from the forest that night was a whistle. Every night at exactly 12 a.m., a faint whistle echoed through the small town of Raven Street. Most people ignored it, calling it nothing more than a strange nighttime sound. But not everyone. Zane had just moved into his new house at the end of the street. The first night, as the clock struck midnight, he heard it, a soft, distant whistle. He paused, listening carefully, then shrugged it off. "Probably just the wind," he whispered. The second night, the whistle came again. Louder this time. Closer. Zane sat up in bed, uneasy. The sound didn't feel natural. It had a rhythm, almost like someone was trying to call him. By the third night, Zane was ready. As midnight approached, he kept his eyes fixed on the clock. 11:59. 12 o'clock. The whistle came instantly. But this time, it wasn't outside. It was inside the house. Zane's heart pounded as he slowly stood up. The sound echoed through the hallway, low and steady. Step by step, he followed it, his hands trembling. The whistle led him to the end of the corridor, to a door he had never opened before. Breathing heavily, he pushed it open. Darkness. And then, the whistle stopped. Zane felt a cold breath behind his neck. Before he could turn around, a loud, piercing whistle exploded right in his ear. He screamed and spun around. But no one was there. The next morning, the neighbors noticed something strange. Zane's house was empty. No signs of struggle. No footprints. Just one thing left behind. A faint, endless whistle, coming from inside the walls. At the edge of the village stood an abandoned well, long forgotten and surrounded by cracked stones and dead grass. No one went near it anymore, because at night, it whistled. The sound was soft at first, like wind slipping through broken rocks. But those who listened closely knew it wasn't the wind. It had a pattern, a call. Villagers warned their children, never go near the well after sunset. But curiosity is stronger than fear. One evening, a teenager named Hamza decided to prove the rumors wrong. Armed with a flashlight and his phone, he walked toward the well just as darkness swallowed the sky. As he approached, the air grew heavy. Still, then he heard it, a low, haunting whistle rising from deep inside the well. Hamza swallowed hard but forced himself closer. "It's just echoes," he muttered. He leaned over and shined his flashlight down. Nothing, just darkness. The whistling stopped. For a moment, everything was silent. Then, from behind him, the whistle returned. Louder, closer. Hamza spun around, his breath caught in his throat. No one was there. The sound circled him now, moving unnaturally, as if something unseen was walking around him, slowly, carefully. Then, the well creaked. Hamza turned back just in time to see something impossible. A pale, twisted hand gripping the edge of the well, pulling itself up. The whistling grew sharper, faster, almost excited. A shadowy face followed, its mouth stretched wide, whistling without stopping. Hamza stumbled backward, but his foot slipped. He fell. Silence returned to the village that night. But from that day on, the whistle from the well sounded different. Now it had two voices. At the edge of the village stood an abandoned well, long forgotten and surrounded by cracked stones and dead grass. No one went near it anymore, because at night it whistled. The sound was soft at first, like wind slipping through broken rocks. But those who listened closely knew it wasn't the wind. It had a pattern, a call. Villagers warned their children, never go near the well after sunset. But curiosity is stronger than fear. One evening, a teenager named Hamza decided to prove the rumors wrong. Armed with a flashlight and his phone, he walked toward the well just as darkness swallowed the sky. As he approached, the air grew heavy. Still, then he heard it, a low, haunting whistle rising from deep inside the well. Hamza swallowed hard but forced himself closer. "It's just echoes," he muttered. He leaned over and shined his flashlight down. Nothing, just darkness. The whistling stopped. For a moment, everything was silent. Then, from behind him, the whistle returned. Louder, closer. Hamza spun around, his breath caught in his throat. No one was there. The sound circled him now, moving unnaturally, as if something unseen was walking around him, slowly, carefully. Then, the well creaked. Hamza turned back just in time to see something impossible. A pale, twisted hand gripping the edge of the well, pulling itself up. The whistling grew sharper, faster, almost excited. A shadowy face followed, its mouth stretched wide, whistling without stopping. Hamza stumbled backward, but his foot slipped. He fell. Silence returned to the village that night. But from that day on, the whistle from the well sounded different. Now it had two voices. It was supposed to be a fun adventure. 5 friends, Ali, Zoya, Hamza, Daniel, and Sarah, set out on a weekend hiking trip to a remote mountain range. The place was beautiful during the day, with endless views and cool winds brushing against their faces. But by night, everything changed. They set up camp as the sun dipped below the peaks. Laughter filled the air as they sat around a small fire, sharing stories. Then, sometime after midnight, they heard it. A whistle, soft, faint, echoing through the mountains. "Did you hear that?" Sarah whispered. Ali laughed nervously. "Just the wind." But deep down, none of them believed that. The whistle came again, closer this time. Zoya shivered. "It sounds like someone's out there." They turned off their lights, listening carefully. The sound moved around them, circling the camp. Then suddenly, it stopped. Silence. "Okay, that's creepy," Daniel muttered. They decided to sleep, trying to ignore the unease crawling under their skin. Morning came, but Hamza was gone. His sleeping bag was empty. No footprints, no signs of struggle, just a faint echo of a whistle fading into the distance. Panic spread quickly. They searched everywhere, calling his name. Nothing. That night, the whistle returned. Louder, angrier. And before they could react, Sarah disappeared. One by one, the group began to vanish. Each taken after the sound came closer, closer, closer. By the third night, only Ali remained. Alone, broken, terrified. The whistle echoed right behind him. Slowly he turned. In the darkness stood a tall, shadowy figure. Its mouth stretched wide, whistling. Ali tried to scream, but no sound came out, because now, he was the one whistling. The Rahman family had just moved into their new home, an old, 2-story house at the edge of town. It was cheap, quiet, and perfect for a fresh start. At least, that's what they thought. The first night passed peacefully. But on the second night, just after midnight, Amina woke up to a strange sound. A whistle, soft, slow, echoing through the house. She sat up, listening carefully. "Did you hear that?" she whispered to her husband, Imran. He shook his head. "Go back to sleep." But the whistle came again, longer this time, colder. The next few nights, the sound returned. Always at the same time. Always the same haunting tone. Soon, even their young son, Bilal, began to hear it. "It's coming from inside the walls," he said one morning, his voice trembling. Imran finally decided to investigate. Late that night, when the whistle began again, he followed the sound through the dark hallway. It led him to a locked door at the end of the house, a room they had never opened. The whistling grew louder, sharper, almost impatient. Imran hesitated, then slowly unlocked the door. It creaked open. Inside, the room was empty, except for an old mirror on the wall. The whistle stopped. For a moment, there was silence. Then, from the mirror, the whistle returned. Imran stepped closer, his reflection staring back at him. But something was wrong. His reflection was smiling, wider than it should, and then it whistled, loud, piercing, inhuman. Imran stumbled back in terror, but the sound didn't stop. The next morning, the house was quiet again. Too quiet. The Rahman family was gone. And now, every night at midnight, the house whistles. Officer Rayhan had seen many strange cases in his career, but this one was different. Over the past few months, people had been disappearing without a trace. No signs of struggle, no witnesses, nothing, except one detail. Every victim had reported hearing a whistle just before they vanished. Most officers ignored it, calling it coincidence. But Rayhan didn't believe in coincidences. He began studying the cases, noticing a pattern. All the disappearances happened late at night, in isolated areas. And every report described the same thing: a slow, haunting whistle that seemed to come from nowhere. Determined to uncover the truth, Rayhan decided to experience it himself. One night, he drove to the outskirts of the city, parking near an abandoned road where the last victim was seen. The area was silent, wrapped in darkness. He stepped out of the car, his flashlight cutting through the black. Minutes passed. Nothing. Then, a whistle. Faint, distant, chilling. Rayhan froze, his grip tightening on the flashlight. It came again. Closer. The sound echoed around him, shifting directions, as if something unseen was circling him. "Who's there?" he called out, his voice unsteady. No answer. Just the whistle. Louder now. Right behind him. Rayhan turned quickly, shining his light into the darkness, and saw nothing. But the sound didn't stop. It grew sharper, faster, almost mocking him. Then suddenly, it stopped. Silence. Rayhan exhaled slowly, trying to calm himself. That's when he felt it. A cold breath on his neck. And before he could react, a loud, piercing whistle exploded in his ear. The next morning, his car was found abandoned. No sign of Officer Rayhan. No evidence. Just one thing recorded on his police radio. A continuous, endless whistle.